Why, hello. Welcome back to Wanderlust Journal, the podcast from my travels and from publishing other people's travel books and travel stories and personal narratives about experiences of people and places, cultures, familiar, unfamiliar, and all of that good stuff. So today I just wanted to talk about learning Spanish. It's something that I'm very interested in. I am doing my best to learn Spanish since I'm spending quite a bit of time in Mexico these days, as you might have noticed from some of the other podcasts. So I just wanted to do a quick thing, 4 different options that I recommend as far as listening to and learning Spanish. In brief, in case you don't know me, I grew up in England. I spent a lot of time in Spain as a teenager. I lived there briefly one spring for a month, another couple of months traveling, hitching around in my early 20s. And I discovered that I really loved the language, and I didn't really take any formal Spanish classes in school, high school, or college, but I did an immersive for a month in Valencia in Spain, and that was great because every morning you basically go to school with a group of people, and there were like 4 or 5 of us in each group, and it would be conversation, language, in person, and it was consistent. So it was every day, 5 days a week. Absolutely recommend doing an immersive kind of thing. You can often find them even in your hometowns, because I noticed I live normally in New Mexico, and in Albuquerque there are quite a few colleges or private schools that do immersive Spanish classes. Santa Fe Community College does things. So if you can, even from home, you can do an immersive Spanish language. And it's the consistency that really makes the difference in the conversation. So I super recommend, if you can, do an in-person language development. I also, so I did that in Spain in my early 20s. And then I did it again in Guatemala in my 30s for a month. And then in my early 40s, I did it again in Guatemala for a month. And then last winter, I worked with someone called Lily in Baja, California, in Mulegé, and we got together just twice a week, an hour each time, and it was one-on-one conversation working through a grammatical book, but it was so much conversation, and it was the consistency that makes all the difference. It builds the confidence, it builds that foundation, and also you kind of realize how many words in English are basically the same in Spanish, except for the pronunciation. Slight difference in spelling, but the difference in pronunciation. And that was it. So suddenly Spanish and being conversational in Spanish made me realize I didn't need to know the, subjunctive, past participle of blah, 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 because we don't use it in most sentences. In our own native language, each sentence is generally pretty simple, right? So if you have the confidence with the basics, you will be able to go very far. So another thing, if you can't do an in-person thing, an immersive thing, my next go-to I super recommend is called Lingoda, lingoda.com. It's a company, I believe they're actually based in Spain, and they do all languages. It's all online via Zoom, small groups of 4 people, up to 4 people and a teacher. And it's conversation first and grammar second. And they do a little level test to start with to see what level you need to fit into. And then they give you all the options of all the things that you can learn within that level. And every day you just look on the line on the calendar, and you get to pick when and where and how often you sign up for a class. And you just sign up for a class, and it's a 1-hour conversation with a group of people working on a specific theme. And again, it's that consistency. It's the conversation aspect that really makes the difference. So I recommend that. And it's all level and all prices. You can go from, I think, 1 or 2 classes a week to, it's like a monthly subscription basically, or you can do 1 a day, you can do multiples, you can pick and choose, you can pay for 30 classes and do them all in a week if you're nuts, or you can spread them out over a month. So it's not cheap, but it's not pricey either. It's about the same price. It ends up being anywhere, the more classes you book, the cheaper it gets. And they often do pretty good deals. So I recommend you just sign up for a newsletter and just kind of keep track if you're interested in Lingoda. Super accessible, and I was able to do it from wherever I was, so especially good during the pandemic. The next one that I'm not going to be so great about, but I recommend it on a certain level, is Duolingo. So many people I know swear by it, and yes, they are learning they are learning language. They are learning the basics. They're learning recall as far as say this, answer this. So those are the pros. You can start at scratch and you get all the basics. The cons, as far as I see, are actually pretty big. You don't understand why you're doing what you're doing. You don't understand why you're saying what you're saying. So you're very limited because there's no lateral exploration and play with the language because you don't understand what you're doing. So how can you make jokes? How can you change things? For example, in Spanish and in English and in other languages, there's so many ways to say, hi, how are you? Duolingo teaches you cómo está. So if someone says qué onda, qué pasa, cómo te va, and all the other different things, I'm going blank, that they could potentially say, you would stand there looking lost until they go, cómo está? And they go, oh, estoy bien. Right? So there isn't the expanded understanding of the language, and I have a problem with that because I've noticed that people get too dependent on it and they think they're learning really well, and they are learning some things, but without the understanding, I would say you're missing out. You're limiting yourself. So use it as a vocab thing. Don't use it as building confidence in your conversational ability. So as far as vocab building, my next thing would be to, on your phone, I mean, most of us have phones, right? And I am known among my friends for not being great with having my phone on me or my glasses on me to actually use it. But when I do have my phone with me, and at night or just kind of a few minutes here, a few minutes there, waiting for someone, I use a word search app, and it's called Palabras, words in Spanish, and it's just different languages, but it's like a little word search. So you look for the word, gives you the list of words in this grid, go find them. And I use that because, again, there's very simple words and there's some other more unusual words, and if I don't understand it, I don't know what it is, I just go to Google Translate and see what it is. And so it's a nice way of reiterating how many words I do know. It's giving me new words every day. There's at least one or two in each little word search. I'm like, I wonder what that means. And again, building confidence is a very easy way to build the amount of passive language in your brain as far as learning Spanish and using it. And then lastly, Spanish music. Listen to music with the lyrics in Spanish. Whatever genre that is, whatever kind that is, you don't need to understand it per se, but just being in and inundated with the Spanish language and the music, you will find it really it has an effect. It really makes a difference. You'll start noticing phrases. You'll start being able to repeat phrases, even if it's just 2 words here, 2 words there. And that all makes a big difference. And then, okay, so lastly for today, I am going to talk about podcasts. There are so many great podcasts out for Spanish language learning. The one I recommend for the actual learning process is called Learn Spanish and Go. It's with a Mexican lady called Mai and her husband called Jim. And they've been doing it for years. It's really good. Intermediate level, I would say, conversation, language building, interesting topics. And again, I'll just put that on and listen to that whilst I'm working. So I recommend that. There you go. That's it for today. Some options for you. I hope that helps. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Wanderlust podcast with Stories from the Road. I hope you enjoyed your time here today. I'll be back in a couple of weeks with more anecdotes, more stories, more books, more gear, more inspiration, hopefully. If you would like to support me and my free podcast, these offerings, please go to sarahlimi.com and you'll see links to my artwork, my published books, and lots of also anecdotes and travel essays that are on the website. So poke around over there at sarahlimi.com. There's also a Buy Me a Coffee page if you'd be so kind. That would be great. And yeah, spread the word. Enjoy. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.